Well, you know, it's almost when you go back 6 years ago, and you remember when April Ryan asked the president, she said, "Look, black unemployment is almost at depression level, at depression levels. And in certain cities, black male unemployment is as high as 30, 40, 50%, which would be unacceptable in any other community. Are you going to do anything about this deep inequality that exists in America?" And back then he said something that I think was an incredible mistake. He said, "The rising tide will lift all boats," which really is a racialized version of trickle-down economics, which says, if I help all of America, it's going to help black America too. Well, years later, and again, I'm a finance professor, so I follow Wall Street closely.
Yeah.
Wall Street is shooting through the roof. White unemployment has gotten better. Black unemployment hasn't really improved, and black males are still in the basement. So I think that now, you know, when you come back and you have this initiative years later, it's almost like someone not paying the rent for 2 years and then showing up with a check for $50 and saying, "Why are you complaining? I'm giving you money. Get off my back." Well, there's a lot that happened before this transaction that needs to be taken into consideration.
All right, got new numbers. What does it say for black folks?
So it's really sad. They're the only group that still have double-digit unemployment rates, 10.3%, while it's 6.7% for national, down to about 6% for white people.
So Latinos are they're now in single digits, Asian Americans single digits, African Americans the only racial group that's in double digits.
Right. So for Latinos, it's 8.4%. For Asians, 6.7%. And again, African Americans, 10.3%. For black men, it's 11.2%.
What about black women and what about black youth?
So for black women, it's 9%, and black youth is about 17%. So again, 9% is still really high. That's what it was for white people back in the summer.
3,000 jobs in January, fewer than economists expected. While the overall employment rate inched down to 4% from 4% to 4.1%, the black unemployment rate rose to 6.2%. For black men, it jumped to 6.9%. Black women stayed at 5.4%. Morgan Harper, the Director of Policy and Advocacy at the American Economic Liberties Project, joins us from Columbus, Ohio. And Morgan, I'm sure those black men who were just trumpeting Trump, wonder what they got to say now.
Well, I mean, yeah, that is the biggest jump that we saw in these numbers is black men unemployment. The other group that we saw jump was Asian Americans. You know, as I say every month, Roland, when we talk about these numbers, it's important to note that it is just a spot in time. So we have to kind of see if this ends up being a trend. But certainly it is saying something that black men were the only group to see this high of a jump among all the different populations that are being surveyed.
And so what were they expecting the job number to be? Was it exceed 200,000? And so what happened?
Well, you know, it's not entirely clear. I mean, yeah, so they did have to revise down some of the job numbers from the end of this past year, but it did seem like this number.
Unemployment, the national average in the double digits, and for African Americans specifically, nearly 16%. How do you begin to make sense of these historical disparities that still really haven't changed?
Greed is still running amok on Wall Street. That's why they can talk about a recovery and a recession being over, because Wall Street and the stock market's up. Poor people are in no way a priority. Obama has an economic team that's composed of persons who have no history whatsoever of being concerned about poor people.
Young black men, 16 to 24, nearly 35% unemployment. Where is the hope for young black men facing these types of realities?
Obama made it clear that when he moved into the White House, and it was a beautiful thing to see he and Michelle and the two precious girls, that he was going to reassure the establishment. And that's exactly what he's been doing. He's been doing a good job reassuring the establishment. Well, there's many of us who believe the establishment is on our necks, and on the necks of Brother Jamal, Sister Letitia. Now, Jamal and Letitia have to get their act together, but they can get their act together all they want. But if the government also does not come through with the kind of opportunities so that a determined Jamal and a determined Letitia can take advantage of, they still run up against the wall.
The criticism of him thus far in terms of addressing specifically, say, African-American unemployment, do you think it's fair?
I think that that Obama formed certain habits when he campaigned. And one of the habits was to neutralize white fears and anxieties as he capitalized on black solidarity so that he could have one size fitting all to run a campaign. But to govern is something else, you see. But he's got that same habit. So when he talks about the disproportionate amount of social misery, poor communities, disproportionately black and brown and red, one size doesn't fit all. Come to the black community, get yourself together, pull yourself up by your own bootstrap, personal responsibility. Oh, you didn't say that when the investment bankers were in trouble, did you? They had to pull themselves up by their own bootstrap. They got $787 billion. Can you imagine giving $787 billion to poor people? It only takes $50 billion to wipe out poverty in major portions of the country, you see. Afghanistan, billions of dollars it's going to take. Priorities.
You really look at it as a matter of economics?
It's definitely economics, but it's priorities in your economic policy. Very much so. And that doesn't downplay individual initiative. People still need to get their acts together.